That feeling when you're at a networking event or party and you're stuck in that endless loop of what do you do and where are you from? That's the small talk trap. It's draining, it's superficial, and it leaves both people feeling like they just wasted 20 minutes of their lives. You get the job title and the company name, but zero rapport. I'll prove it to you. Ask yourself right now, what's the name and job title of the last person you made small talk with? Most people can't remember. That's the retention killer. But here's the secret. Small talk fails because it never gets to what actually matters in human connection. Most people approach conversations completely wrong. They focus on exchanging facts instead of building understanding. Today, I'm going to show you the 3 questions that bypass surface-level chatter and create genuine connections in minutes. The 3 conversation modes. Every conversation you have actually contains 3 different layers happening simultaneously. We call these the 3 conversation modes. There's the practical conversation. What are we actually talking about? The facts and logistics? Then there's the emotional conversation. How do we feel about what we're discussing? And finally, there's the social conversation. Who are we to each other? What identities are we bringing to this interaction? The problem occurs when people are having different conversations at the same time. You might be having an emotional conversation about your stressful day, while the other person responds with practical solutions. That mismatch creates frustration and disconnect because you're not actually communicating. You're just talking past each other. This is why the matching principle is so critical. Successful communication requires recognizing which conversation is happening and meeting the other person there. Question 1. The vulnerability opener. I was actually fired last month. How do you respond to that? Most people freeze. That's why, instead of asking, "What do you do?" try asking, "What drives you in your work?" Or, "What's something you're passionate about right now?" This question works because it invites vulnerability, and vulnerability triggers reciprocal sharing. When you ask about someone's motivations rather than their job title, you bypass the rehearsed professional answer and get to what actually matters to them. The neuroscience here is fascinating. When someone shares something personal, it activates mirror neurons in your brain that create empathy and connection. And here's the key insight. Emotions only last about 90 seconds unless we feed them. So when someone shares something vulnerable, that window of genuine connection is brief but incredibly powerful. At a networking event, this might sound like, "What's the most meaningful project you've worked on recently?" Instead of, "What company are you with?" The difference is night and day. One gets you a job description, the other gets you a story. Question 2. The identity revealer. This question moves beyond surface demographics to uncover what actually shapes someone's worldview. Instead of, "Where are you from?" try, "What's something from your background that shaped how you see things?" Or, "What values were really emphasized growing up that still influence you today?" This approach reveals social and personal identities that actually matter, not just where someone lived, but what formed their perspective. The magic of this question is that it shows you what someone wants from the interaction at a deeper level. Are they looking for validation of their identity? Connection around shared values? Understanding of their unique perspective? When you ask about values instead of facts, you learn what actually drives their decisions and behaviors. For example, asking, "What experiences shaped your approach to leadership?" tells you infinitely more than, "How long have you been a manager?" This question reveals the hidden architecture of someone's decision-making process and shows you what they truly care about protecting or expressing in their identity. The fascinating part is that once you understand someone's values, you can actually predict their next mistake. This question allows you to see the error pattern before it even makes it. Personal anecdote. Before we get to the final question, I need to tell you about a time this changed everything for me. I once had a colleague who kept making decisions that baffled everyone. When I finally asked, "What values shaped your approach here?" instead of, "Why did you do that?" the entire context shifted. I wasn't just seeing their actions, I was seeing their worldview. Question 3. The forward momentum. Question: Now we move to the most forward-looking question that transforms static small talk into dynamic connection. Instead of asking about someone's current circumstances, you ask about their aspirations. The question sounds like, what's something you're excited about building in the next year? Or, where do you see your interests taking you in the future? This approach leverages future self-continuity, the psychological principle that we connect more deeply with people who see and engage with our future potential, rather than just our present reality. When you ask about someone's future aspirations, you're not just making conversation. You're creating forward momentum in the relationship. You're signaling that you see them as someone with growth and potential, which is incredibly affirming. In professional contexts, this might sound like, what skills are you looking to develop next in your career? Instead of, what's your current position? Personally, it could be, what adventure are you planning that really gets you excited? Rather than, what did you do last weekend? This question turns transactional small talk into collaborative possibility. You're no longer just exchanging information. You're building a bridge to future interactions, projects, or shared interests. The forward momentum question works because it taps into our fundamental human desire for growth and becoming. The strategic advantage framework. Here's how to strategically deploy these questions for maximum impact. The sequence matters. Start with the vulnerability opener to establish emotional safety, then move to identity to understand context, and finish with future to create momentum. But the real skill is reading conversational cues to know when to pivot between practical, emotional, and social layers. Visual cue. Emotional keywords. Emotional layer. Roles and titles. Social layer. Watch for emotional keywords. When someone says frustrated, excited, or worried, that's your signal to explore the emotional layer. When they mention roles, titles, or groups, that's the social identity layer asking to be explored. The energy management benefit here is massive. You stop wasting mental resources on mismatched conversations and start building rapport that actually converts to influence. People will remember you not for what you said, but for how you made them feel understood. This isn't manipulation. It's strategic empathy. You're learning to speak the language the other person is actually speaking, rather than assuming everyone communicates the same way. The framework gives you conversational agility to move between practical solutions, emotional support, and social connection as needed. Implementation system. Start today with the 24-hour practice challenge. Your mission. Use one deep question in your next low-stakes interaction. The coffee shop barista, the coworker you barely know, the neighbor you always wave to but never really talk to. Don't aim for perfection, aim for practice. Measure success, not by the length of the conversation, but by the quality of connection. Did you learn something real about this person? Did the interaction feel more authentic? As you practice, you'll naturally adapt these questions to different relationship levels. With strangers, you might use more general future-oriented questions. With colleagues, you can explore professional passions. With friends, you can go deeper into values and identity. Build your personal question library. Keep a note on your phone of questions that work particularly well for you. The goal isn't to memorize scripts, but to internalize the principle. Ask about feelings instead of facts, futures instead of pasts, values instead of demographics. This system transforms communication from a social obligation into a strategic advantage that saves energy while building deeper connections. Pick one question today and test it. The results will surprise you. That's the system. Future-focused questions that create momentum, strategic framework for deployment, and immediate implementation that builds real skill. These aren't just conversation tricks. They're tools for building the meaningful connections that actually matter in life and work. The small talk era ends when you start asking the questions that actually reveal who people are and who they're becoming. Conclusion? You started this video stuck in the small talk trap, that draining, superficial loop that wastes your time and energy. Now, you have the tactical advantage. 3 questions that end that cycle forever. The vulnerability opener that builds trust. the identity revealer that uncovers values, and the forward momentum question that creates momentum. Don't memorize them. Internalize the feeling. The challenge is simple. The next time you feel the small talk trap closing in, skip, "What do you do?" and ask, "What are you excited about building?"